We are now looking at one of my favorite mind maps. This was pretty much the first mind map I have created, and I created it for myself just because I couldn't remember all the frameworks for some of the programming languages that I haven't worked with. So you may know that I used to be a developer, an IT consultant, a CTO, yet I was focused on a specific technical stack. Well, that's what happens to IT professionals. They specialize in certain programming languages. Could be 2, 3, 4, but they usually cannot work with 8 or 10 programming languages. So as a recruiter, I need to be aware of all these so that next time I'm talking to a hiring manager who says, hey Michael, we need someone to work with Xamarin, I need to know really quick that they are looking for a C# developer to build some mobile applications. Or when a candidate has on the resume that he worked with Laravel, then I need to know that he is a PHP developer. Okay, so I'll walk you through all these programming languages and frameworks that are listed on this mind map, and the following mind map will explain what could these frameworks be used for. So let's dive right in. So on this mind map, we can see several programming languages and related frameworks. The programming languages are in the center of each cluster. So for example, Ruby or PHP, these are the programming languages. And then frameworks are around these programming languages. So let me just show you the most popular ones, the most common in the development community. We are talking about JavaScript. We are talking about PHP, also C#, Java, and Python, if I were to choose just a few. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. JavaScript, but Java is not JavaScript, okay? Don't confuse these two. Just because the 4 letters Java are also in JavaScript, it doesn't mean that it's the same, or it's not even close. These are completely different. PHP is for web development. Python could be used for web development, data engineering, data science. So the next mind map, which I will cover with you in just a few minutes in another video, covers also what can each programming language be used for. But let's take it step by step. I will first explain this concept, and then we will dive deeper, okay? So on a really high level, what do you need to remember when it comes to JavaScript is that there are some frameworks that developers use frequently when they are starting new projects. So those most popular ones are React, Vue.js, Angular, React Native, Node.js, Ionic. These are the most popular frameworks or libraries within the JavaScript landscape. And there is TypeScript, which is also a programming language, but it's based on JavaScript. So there is thin line. I haven't separated it completely as these other languages, just because it's very similar. The developers who have learned JavaScript sometimes just learn how to use TypeScript, and then they keep using both JavaScript and TypeScript. And Angular has been written in TypeScript. So, long story short, for our purpose of recruitment, we just need to remember JavaScript and some of these frameworks like React, Angular, React Native, Ionic, Node.js. Some of them are used on the front-end web development side. Some of them are for back-end development. Some of them for mobile app development. But I'll show you later, okay? Let's just keep it on a high level for now. Also, Java is really popular for the last, 20, 30 years. It's used by corporations to develop their enterprise backend systems. So a lot of developers have learned to use Java, but not only for the corporate use case, but also Android applications are implemented using Java programming language. So you know how many people use Android, right? And most of the applications have been written in Java. The other popular programming language is PHP, which has been created already probably 30 years ago for web development. So PHP can only be used for web development. There are some frameworks that are trending these days, like Laravel, Symfony, and some of the frameworks that are not as popular anymore, but they were popular years ago, like Zend, YEE. Okay, so that's PHP. But Python is where it gets really interesting, because Python has been here for ages, but just recently its popularity has been increasing significantly because it can be used for data engineering and also data science. So a lot of data scientists, data analysts learn to use Python so they can analyze data and big data. And you know that big data is increasingly more popular these days, so is Python because of it. There are some frameworks used for web development, for example, Django or Flask, and we will talk about some other libraries that are specific to data science. C# is increasingly more popular as well because Microsoft invests lots of resources into the development and the whole community behind it. They provide lots of tools and whatnot. So C# can be used for not just web development, but also mobile development or games, and we will talk about it later. For now, just remember some of these frameworks like .NET Core, .NET Framework, Xamarin, Mono, UWP, WPF, and we will talk about these in details later. Okay, so we covered the most popular languages, PHP, Java, JavaScript, Python, C#, and now let me just briefly mention the other languages. They are also popular, for example, Objective-C or Swift. These two are popular among mobile application developers. If you've watched some of the previous videos when I talked about mobile application development, you probably remember that this could be used for iOS application development. iOS, oh my, that looks terrible. So iOS application development. And there are some other languages that could be used for Android. So it is Kotlin and Java. So these two programming languages are used for mobile applications that are powered by the Android platform. HTML, I already explained previously. I mentioned it among those must-know IT acronyms, the most common IT terminology. I mentioned it as a part of the web development landscape, so I'll skip it for now. I also explained SQL, the query language used in relational databases, Ruby, Scala, and Perl. These languages are here, although not as popular. Ruby is popular mainly in like countries like Brazil, for example, or Argentina, from what I remember, but it's not very popular in Europe. Also in the United States, it has limited community. So developers these days prefer some other languages like C# or JavaScript over Scala or Ruby. Like Scala is great, similar as Python. It has a very specific use case, for example, for data processing, data analyzing, data engineering could be great, but you know its use is limited in this sense. C++ is heavily used in gaming, for example, or when the performance is very important. For example, in some like operating systems, for example, or browsers are also written in C++. So it's one of these more difficult programming languages. It's not as easy as Python. It's not as easy as Ruby to learn. It's not as easy as PHP. So like those who know C++, they are these, hardcore developers or engineers, software engineers. Go language, it's developed by Google, and it's popular for some backend services, backend APIs. So web development on the server side. And Perl's popularity has been significantly decreasing over the years in favor of some other languages, as I mentioned. And we covered Scala, but I wanted to mention R language as well. So Python and R could also be used for data science, data analysis, and R has been used significantly. Now Python is taking over, from what I understood from some of the data analysts and data scientists. So some of these programming languages are hyped and trending, and then another wave comes and they are considered as obsolete. So I'm not saying R is obsolete by any means, but something else like Python is more trending in the community these days. So this is really a high-level overview, high-level map of programming languages and frameworks. And if you would like to go deeper, then obviously there is this one which we will cover in the following video. And still, when you need to recruit IT professionals, you need to be aware of all these different use cases. So when you are looking, for example, for front-end developers or data engineers, it may be quite difficult to identify who to look for. And that's also why I have created all these modules and training modules, training courses, where you can just go through that particular area of software engineering, whether it is backend web development or it is data engineering. So those relevant programming languages are included in the particular module. So I know it may be a little overwhelming when you are looking at the mind map, but here in this members area where you have all these different modules, it is easier because it's separated. So for example, when we talk about mobile app developers, it is only Objective-C, Swift, Kotlin, and Java. When we talk about data science, for example, then we focus mostly on Python, SQL, PLSQL, and probably R a little. Okay, so it's not as difficult as it may look just when you are looking at this mind map, but that's why we have these dedicated courses that can take you step by step, and especially if you are interested in a particular area, then you only can focus on that one inside the Tech Recruitment Academy. So if you don't have the account just yet, then feel free to create one. And in the next video, I'll show you this detailed mind map with the same programming languages and frameworks, but categorized from another angle. And if you would like to find more IT candidates and talk to them with confidence, then the whole booklet with over 40 mind maps can be useful for you, especially if you are transitioning from non-tech field to IT, because this booklet includes 40 mind maps that cover the whole IT landscape. We start on a high level with IT roles, and then we dive deeper to web development, mobile, desktop development, and then even deeper. So for example, software web development with JavaScript. So there is a mind map, for example, that covers data and data related roles, and even developer personas, so you get to understand developers a little better. So you can learn a little more about the developer psychology also through these mind maps. And these mind maps will be priceless, especially if you would like to talk if you'd like to speak tech with IT hiring managers, or if you would like to engage with IT candidates. So these mind maps will give you the vocabulary you need to engage with IT professionals with confidence. And now you can download the PDF file on our website. Just go to itrecruitermindmaps.com and download the PDF file. You can also join our members area, where you can see for a list of 40 videos, and you can watch a video related to the mind map you are just looking at. So you can see all these videos and you can watch them right now. I have pre-recorded these videos because I know how hard it is for someone who is just transitioning from non-tech field to understand this IT vocabulary, this IT mess, so to speak. So I try to explain it in human language as easy as possible. You can watch these videos inside the members area. So just go to the website itrecruitermindmaps.com and get yours. Get the PDF now and join the members area. See you there.